Have you ever seen your pet hug you as if they knew it was the last time? What you're about to hear is going to break your heart. But it's also going to give you a hope you never imagined. This is the story of Max, a dog who changed everything with a simple hug. Imagine for a moment that your best friend, the one who's been by your side for years, looks at you with tired eyes, and you know it's time to say goodbye. That's exactly what happened to Daniel that morning when he took Max to the vet. The clinic was quiet, with those bright white lights that make everything feel colder than usual. Max, a German shepherd who used to be as strong as an ox, was now lying on a blanket, breathing as if each inhalation was a battle. His fur, once shiny in the sunlight, now looked dull and worn out. Daniel couldn't stop petting his ears. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered to him, "You were the best companion I could have ever had, brother. I'm sorry I couldn't do more." Can you imagine that pain? That moment when you know you have to let go of the one you love the most, but then something incredible happened. Max, with the little strength he had left, lifted his head and gently nudged Daniel's wrist. That simple gesture almost shattered the man. He bent down until their foreheads touched, and there they were, two best friends saying goodbye. The vet and her assistant watched from a distance, giving them the sacred space they needed.
The nurse wiped away a tear discreetly. And friends, no matter how many times you see a scene like this, you never get used to it. Now comes the part that sends chills down your spine. Max, but determined, raised one paw, then the other, and wrapped his front legs around Daniel's neck. It was as if he was saying, "Thank you for everything, Dad. Thank you for loving me." Daniel held on to him as if his life depended on it. "I love you, Max. I love you so much," he repeated through sobs. He had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in his mind, but nothing had prepared him to feel for the last time the warmth of his best friend. Max's breathing grew more irregular, but his paws stayed firmly around Daniel's neck. He didn't want to let go. The vet approached with the syringe in hand. That small vial was going to end Max's suffering. "I'm ready when you are," she murmured softly, because some moments can't be broken with harsh words. Daniel raised his head just enough to look into those brown eyes he knew so well. "You can rest now, champ," he said with a broken voice. "You were so brave, so good." Max let out a soft little groan, like a sigh, and wagged his tail once, slowly. The nurse placed her hand on Daniel's shoulder to comfort him. Everything was set. The needle was about to approach Max's leg when suddenly, the vet stopped dead in her tracks. Something wasn't right. She frowned and leaned over Max as if she'd heard something strange. The whole room fell into complete silence. "Wait," she said, grabbing her stethoscope. She placed it on Max's ribs and concentrated, looking at the clock on the wall. The nurse looked at her, confused. "What's going on, doctor?" Daniel wiped his face with his sleeve. "What's happening? What's wrong with him?" His voice was desperate. "Let me check something," the vet murmured, adjusting the stethoscope. She closed her eyes to concentrate better. What she was hearing didn't make sense. Instead of the faint, irregular heartbeat of a dying heart, she was hearing something different, a rhythmic but uneven beat, like the system was fighting to stay alive. Max exhaled slowly. His body relaxed on the blanket, but his heart kept beating strong. The doctor lifted his lip to check the color of his gums. They were pale, yes, but not that grayish tone that indicates imminent death. She turned to the nurse urgently. "Bring me a thermometer and open his file again. I want to check his temperature and blood work." Daniel's eyes moved from the vet to Max, torn between hope and disbelief. "I don't understand. You said he was dying." The vet looked him straight in the eyes. "That's what I thought," she admitted with a firm voice, "but something doesn't add up. Before we do anything, we need to be absolutely sure." The nurse ran to get the thermometer and turned on the computer. The vet slid the device under Max's front leg, counting silently while waiting for the result. When the beep sounded, she read the number twice to make sure. "His temperature is very low," she murmured to herself. "Not from organ failure, but possibly from a severe infection." She turned to Daniel with urgency in her eyes. "When did you first notice he was sick?" Daniel swallowed hard, trying to think through the confusion. A few days ago, he stopped eating. He was so tired. I thought it was just old age, you know. He's been through so much. His voice cracked again. He didn't want to make him suffer more. The vet placed a reassuring hand on his arm. You did the right thing by bringing him in, but this doesn't seem like normal aging. If it's an infection or poisoning, we could treat it. Max shifted slightly, letting out a soft groan. It was as if he knew he still had a chance. Prepare 4 fluids and broad-spectrum antibiotics, the vet told the nurse. We can't wait for more tests. Daniel felt his chest tighten with wild hope. So, could he survive? The vet nodded firmly. If we act quickly, yes. She turned to Max with a gentle but determined voice. Hang in there, old man. We're not giving up on you yet. Daniel sat on a narrow bench outside the treatment room, his hands gripping so tightly his knuckles turned white. Every few minutes he lifted his head, convinced he could hear footsteps, hoping someone would come and tell him that it was over, one way or another. The hours dragged by slowly, marked only by the ticking of the clock and the hum of the machines. Daniel covered his eyes with his palm, trying to block out the memory of Max, wrapping his fragile legs around his neck in that final farewell. He had thought it was their last moment together. Now, he didn't know what to think.
A little after midnight, the vet came out with exhaustion written on her face. She sat on the bench beside him. He's stable, she said softly. But the next few hours are critical. If he responds to the antibiotics, he has a real chance. Daniel exhaled the breath he didn't know he had been holding. His voice came out like a whisper. Thank you for not giving up. The vet's tired smile was genuine. He wasn't ready to say goodbye, and neither were you. Daniel nodded, wiping his eyes. I'm staying here until he wakes up. He leaned against the wall, fatigue pulling at him, but he couldn't close his eyes. Every time he blinked, he saw Max's face. The way those legs had hugged him like a final goodbye. A soft creak broke the silence. He lifted his head, his heart leaping when he saw the vet standing in the doorway with a completely transformed expression. She looked tired, but she was smiling. You should come in, she said gently. He's awake. Daniel felt his legs tremble as he stood up. He grabbed the doorframe for balance before stepping into the treatment room. Max was lying on a clean blanket, still connected to the IV. His eyes were open, brown and clear, and when he saw Daniel, he wagged his tail slowly and tiredly on the table. Hey, buddy, Daniel whispered, his voice breaking. He reached out and placed his hand against Max's cheek. The dog leaned into the touch, letting out a soft, relieved sigh. He's not out of danger yet, the vet warned, but he's fighting, and that's more than we expected last night. Daniel nodded, tears clouding his vision again. He leaned in until his forehead touched Max's. You weren't ready to leave, were you? He whispered. I should have known. Max moved and, with great effort, lifted a paw to place it on Daniel's arm. It hadn't been a goodbye. It had been a promise. Look, brother, if this story moved you as much as it did me, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because in the end, the best stories are the ones that remind us to never lose hope, that miracles do exist, and that true love never gives up. See you in the next video. And remember, there's always a reason to keep fighting.